It is another special edition of Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. Wednesday night, Twins finish off a 2-game sweep of the Blue Jays in the wild card round. Another really enjoyable, interesting game, 2-0, the final score in this one. All sorts of moments, all sorts of kind of what-ifs, debatable strategies, everything like that. I'll get to a bunch of that in a little while. Velle E, Neal III, Star Tribune columnist, longtime Twins writer from the Star Tribune, will join me here in a little bit. We'll talk about kind of all of the biggest moments and look ahead, too, to the Houston series, the American League Division series, starting Saturday in Houston. Big news for the Twins is, not only do they advance, they do it in 2 games. They kind of reset their rotation. All the bullpen guys get 2 days off. So really ideal circumstances. How they got there, though, was completely foreign to me. I'm going to read a whole bunch of your tweets here in a minute. I asked you for some tweets. But how they got to this point, how they won these 2 games, was completely foreign to me as an observer of pretty much every Twins playoff game for the last 20 years, including all 18, of that post-game losing streak. Almost every, it seemed like it felt like every single of those kind of quirky, strange plays that happens in the postseason, those moments, those what-if moments, those like the ones that stick with you, those kind of momentum-changing, kind of series-turning plays, those all, at least as I remember, all of them went in the Twins' favor in this series. They got a bunch of them yesterday. Of course, the big play being Carlos Correa saving a run with his heads-up defensive play on Tuesday. In Wednesday's game, there were a bunch of those moments. There's a questionable decision by the Blue Jays to take out Jose Barrios in the 4th inning, which leads to the only 2 runs of the game. But beyond that, you've got Sonny Gray picking off Vlad Guerrero Jr. to end the 5th inning. He and, again, Carlos Correa teaming up on that. Correa all over the field today, had the only RBI hit, the other one coming in on a double play. The only RBI hit got the Twins on the board. He was huge in this game. Then, of course, the 6th inning is the one that's going to stick with me for a while. Toronto loads the bases. Kind of seems like they have the Twins where they want them with the pitching matchups, with everything like that. Caleb Thielbar has to stay in the game with the bases loaded and 1 out. Matt Chapman at the plate hits a screaming liner down the third baseline. You're thinking, okay, that's not good. This is going to tie the game at the very least. Goes foul by maybe a foot, 2 feet at the most. A-Rod on the broadcast is talking about how it reminded him of the Phil Cousins call in 2009 when he's with the Yankees, and obviously the one that went against Joe Mauer. You're thinking they're bringing up all the bad mojo, all the bad stuff, but that was a foul ball. It was the correct call. Next pitch grounds into a double play. You go from almost being tied to out of the inning with no damage. Those are the kinds of things that went against the Twins for almost 2 decades, for 18 games. They are suddenly going their way. And I don't know if this is a reversal of fortune, if this is the type of team the Twins have, because they do have players, have a roster that seems to be better built for the postseason, which I want to get to in a minute, a point I made on an earlier show this week. But all of those moments, Carlos Correa in the middle of a lot of them, but all of those moments, I can't tell if it's because of kind of how they're built, what they're made for, what they're ready for, or if it is some of these kind of some 18 games worth of I don't know, bad luck, bad mojo, bad timing, bad everything, kind of coming back to the Twins in the right direction. Kind of like the Vikings last season, if I might make a comparison there. But the bottom line is this: the plays that I don't remember them making, the pitches I don't remember them making, getting out of situations, getting themselves into scoring situations and capitalizing those quirky, weird postseason moments, those are all going for the Twins right now, and that is a powerful force, and it leads to a lot of what you had to say here in your comments. I asked you after the game, I said, hell of a 2 games, post-game podcast coming up shortly, that's what you're listening to right now. If you don't mind, Twins fans, fill in the rest of this sentence with a full sentence. After Jhoan Duran struck out the final batter Wednesday, I felt... I'm just going to read through all of these. When I get to one that strikes me as something I want to expand on, I will do that. I also also in a minute want to get to some interesting Kirk Cousins comments from Wednesday, talking about going to the Twins game on Tuesday, feeling that energy, because I think it kind of goes into this whole dynamic of what fans are experiencing at Target Field right now. Comment, thrilled for many of my friends and deeply hopeless for my Royals. Yeah, it kind of reminds you right there that the Twins, as bad as it's been at times, the Royals, yeah, I know they got one in 2014, 2015. Those were some great Royals teams, but it's been pretty hopeless since then. The Twins have consistently at least been pretty good to be in this spot. Amazed, relief, aches that weren't there the last time the Twins won a series. I feel you on that. It's been 21 years since they even won a series. Never mind that streak of post-game losses, a lot of series losses in there. But even going back to 2002, they lost the ALCS to the Angels. 2003, division series to the Yankees. Things like that. We were all much younger. Like, I was in my 20s when that happened. I am now in my mid-40s. There is a big difference in how you feel, what is going on in your life between the last time they won a playoff series and right now. Like, I didn't believe what I'd just seen. Relief wash over me in an awesome wave. Chills. Those are all, like, kind of speaking to what I was speaking to at the beginning. Like, these are plays, these are moments that we have not seen from the Twins. There's been so many moments where they've been close in these games. So many woulda, coulda, shoulda moments that have gone against them that all went their way. And I think fans are in a little bit of disbelief right now. Like, they're officially playing with house money now, and they're going to, at minimum, make Houston work for it, if not advance. I think that's a good point. I mean, the downside of this is Houston has been resting, getting a chance to completely set their rotation. Twins will probably have to pitch either Joe Ryan or Bailey Ober. Not bad options, but they won't be able to have one of their frontline starters in Saturday's opener because neither one of them would be on full rest. They could pitch Pablo Lopez in Game 2 on regular rest, but Houston's going to have a lot of advantages. Playoff experience, setting their rotation. Verlander's been really good lately. They got some tough pitching, and the Twins, for all that they did right in this series, didn't hit all that much. So there's going to be a lot going against them, but I like the way they're playing right now. I like their bullpen, and I like the intangibles. So I agree, this is going to be a series, and I give the Twins a chance to advance. Back pain, yeah, it kind of goes along with the aging. Like, I could cry for 6 hours. I don't know if I'd cry for 6 hours if I was you, but that's a lot of emotion pouring out of you. Like, I startled the neighbors with my scream of, yeah! Joy, bliss, relief and jubilation, relief, astonished. Like 1987. That one really caught my eye. Chuck Kosel. I wasn't a big Twins fan back then. I remember it kind of. I was 10, 11 years old for that World Series growing up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. A lot of people around me were big Twins fans, so I'm aware of kind of what that was, kind of like adjacently, but I kind of get what he's saying. There was that upstart team in 87 that kind of came together late, won a bad division, got on a postseason roll, and next thing you know, they were world champs. The difference back then is you only had to win 2 rounds to get to be world champs. In this case, you have to win the wild card, the division series, the ALCS, and then the World Series. You got to win twice as many rounds, so it's harder to advance, especially for those lower seeds. But I get his sentiment. I think the Twins are built right now to do some postseason damage and to get, to make this feel like this could be a run. The last few, pure jubilation, elated, en fuego, and like I could breathe again. I think a lot of people were holding their breath in those final moments. Griffin Jax, one of the unsung heroes, had clean 8th inning in this game. Jean Duran gave everybody a heart attack when he couldn't figure out what was wrong with his hand. He came through just fine too. He looked great once they got that sorted out. Everything came together. There were moments of stress. I think the 6th inning of Wednesday's game was probably the most stress you felt, but other than that, it was fairly clean. It felt not routine, but like the Twins belonged there and were ready to do what they needed to do. So that, to me, was pretty impressive. And like I said, before I get to Lavelle, I want to play some Kirk Cousins stuff. I did not go into this day or this podcast planning to use Kirk Cousins talking about the Twins, but I was out at Vikings Access today. Yes, it's been a very busy and long day, but I was out there, and he just kind of started talking about how they spontaneously decided to get tickets to the Twins game, that playoff game on Tuesday, and what it was like to be there. I want to roll, this is probably like 3 or 4 questions worth of Cousins quotes, but I want to roll these right now because I think they speak to some of the energy even from someone on the outside.
It's fun for us, as players to kind of, be able to follow them in the fall while we're playing and while the practices are going to have their games on. So hopefully their season can go as long as possible. And I was at the game yesterday. It was a lot of fun. So pulling for them as well. Yeah, we obviously Tuesday being an off day, and I didn't realize how quickly the transition was from the regular season to right into the playoffs to the wild card. And so we were sitting there, and my wife and I noticed the game was right this afternoon, and our boys nap in the afternoon or earlier in the afternoon. So night games are tough for us because they're in bed by then. So we thought it's perfect timing. We can bring them after their nap. It's great, these day games. So we just bought tickets online last minute and made our way. It was awesome. It was great. I kept sunglasses on and a hat, tried to blend in, and each inning I could tell word was getting around the section, but it was great. A lot of Vikings fans, a lot of Twins fans, obviously, and it was a lot of fun. They loved it. Ate a lot of peanuts, a lot of Cracker Jacks, and I was trying to teach my older son about the game, and it was one of those moments, where you're like, I'm really doing this. I'm at a pro baseball game, sitting next to my 6-year-old son, trying to teach him about the game. Like, this is what my dad did with me. Like, this is happening right now. Here we go. So it was a lot of fun. At first I was like, do I want to drive in the city and put on a disguise and try, and I thought, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. It's the playoffs, and I know I'll look back and be so glad we did, and I was, and I am. So it was awesome. Just the energy, man. We were walking through the concourse. We got there a little bit late, walking through the concourse as Royce hit the first home run. The place just erupted, and I looked at my wife and said, is this what U.S. Bank is like when we hit a touchdown to Justin? And she said, yeah, pretty much. I said, this is great energy. I love this. So it was also cool just to be on the other side of it. I'm used to being the one on the field, and to be the one in the stands, you kind of see it from someone else's perspective and kind of realize how these fans are just dying to get behind you and cheer for you, and you want to give them something to get excited about. So it was a good perspective to have.
And like I said, I appreciate that from Cousins. I like hearing teams rooting on other teams. I love it when, it's playoff season for the Wolves, and you see Vikings and Twins players showing up for that. Same thing with the Wild. I think Hawkinson was at the Wild games last year, stuff like that, where teams are supporting each other. And I like to hear athletes, competitors talk about the energy that they now get to experience as fans in the stands, and how maybe that gives them a new appreciation. Just hearing athletes talk about sports in general can be interesting to me. So I appreciated that from Kirk Cousins. He kind of spoke, I think, for an entire fan base, even if he's just kind of coming into it a little bit new. I thought that was interesting, and I think it's reflective of the mood of everyone right now.
Grand Casino would like to take a moment and salute the true football fan. The passion, the hope, the anticipation, that incomparable feeling of winning. Grand Casino would also like to take a moment to remind you that you can find all that anticipation, thrill, and winning at Grand Casino. Grand Casino, let your story begin.
Let's bring in Velle E, Neal III right now, Star Tribune columnist from Target Field. Another win, another narrow one. The pitching does it again. Velle, 1 run allowed in this whole series. I think a lot of the talk going in was they're going to have to hit more, and they hit a little bit. They got just enough, but the pitching, Velle, that was dominant.
Yeah, the Twins have served notice with these 2 games that whoever they run into in the postseason is going to have to go through the pitching staff to have success. And it's going to be a part where teams have to ask themselves 2 questions. 1, can we score against this pitching staff? And 2, if the answer is no, how in the hell are we going to win a series against them? Because from top to bottom, starters going into that bullpen, everybody was on point for the most part today. You can argue, Louis Varland came in and gave up 2 singles, but he was still throwing like 99. His fastest fastball was 99.6 miles an hour. There's this fire coming out of the bullpen. Rocco was stuck with Griffin Jacks in the 8th inning, and he came through for the 2nd consecutive day. And of course, you got Durant in the 9th. And he didn't see Emilio Pagan warmed up but wasn't used. Chris Paddock wasn't used. The field, Cody Funderburk wasn't used. So they're going to be super fresh the next time they come into a game. It's been pretty impressive, and this is what happens when. Once again, I just think it makes the Luis Arias trade look more like a shrewd move because it gives them a 1-2 punch of Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray. Sonny may be the best number 2 starter in the postseason. Maybe you could argue with what Atlanta's got thrown at him, or maybe the Dodgers and Houston too. But Gray's up there. He's had a better ERA than most of those guys this year, and today he had to play the role of the knockout artist. He was the guy who could pitch the Twins into the next round and not have to worry about it game 3. And he did that. Even though he had company on the bases, they fought off 6 pitches in the first inning. Pitch count started rising. He had 2 men on, I think, in each of the first 2 innings, had to work around that. But he didn't allow any runs. And, it's a comforting thing for a team and for a fan base when they are pitching so effectively. That if you come up with a few runs, you got a chance to win games. And that's what's happened these last 2 nights in the very, very energized Target Field.
They got the 2 runs Wednesday, in part because of a curious decision. The Jose Barrios is dealing. He's got 3 shutout innings, walks Royce Lewis to start the 4th, and there had been bullpen activity already. They were looking for any reason to take Barrios out, and that walk to Lewis is it. You got a lefty up next in Kepler. Kepler really foils that whole inning by getting on base, and then they have to pitch to some righties after that, and that kind of opens the floodgates. But what did you think of the decision to remove Barrios in that case?
Well, that just, eventually managerial madness was going to take over in this series because managers can't help themselves in the postseason. They start ringing bells and calling bullpens and getting pinch hitters ready at the first sign of trouble. And John Schneider, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, kicked it all off in the 4th. When he ran out there, I think Barrios was throwing 75 pitches maybe, something like that. And it was superlative with 6 strikeouts and only 3 hits given up. He goes out there because Royce Lewis is on first, and Rocco's got 2 lefties up, and he decides to pull Barrios from the game, which had to be a relief to the Twins, with some of the Twins hitters. Rocco, in turn, because we've seen it, and actually he's done it earlier in the 4th inning. I think it was in the 3rd or maybe the 2nd inning earlier this year. He's pitched it for someone when the opposite-handed pitcher comes into the game. So he had 2 lefties up, and I'm telling our Chris Carr in the press box, okay, so which batter's getting pinch hit for? And so he kept got on, but Solano was raced out there as soon as he could, and it ended up backfiring on Schneider. I thought it was one of the worst pitching removals ever. After the game, he said it was because they had a plan going in and how they wanted to approach things. He also used a phrase where you can second guess me or the organization.
Yes, we will do that. Yes, we will.
Yeah, exactly. So once again, it wasn't managing with his gut or using the eye test. It was pre-planned based on some freaking algorithm or some matrix that they plugged in all kinds of stats and bells and whistles that came out with take Barrios out as soon as the lefties come up if a man's on base. So the Twins will accept those gifts, and they did, and they scored 2 runs that ended up being the game.
2 more points I want to get to before I ask you an Astros question and we get out of here. The 2 other pivotal plays, I thought. Let's start with the 5th inning when Carlos Correa and Sonny Gray team up. It's Bichette at the plate. There's 2 on, 2 out. Guerrero's at second. I think it's a full count. Something's going to happen here. And Bichette's been really good in this series. This is a point where the Blue Jays can get back into the game. They pick him off. You did some you heard some stuff post game. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it was pretty. Once again, it was an example of Carlos Correa's high baseball IQ because it all started. And Twins fans, the crowd also deserves a tip of the cap for this one because Correa told Sonny Gray, because of the crowd noise, the base runners on second base cannot hear the third base coach telling them to get back to the bag. So let's keep that in mind for a potential pickoff play. So that situation that comes up, and I don't know if I can't remember if Correa got the signal or gave the signal, and it came through the dugout and went into Sonny Gray's pitch-com device, and he spun, and Correa had space between himself, the bag, and Guerrero, and took a throw, made a hell of a tag. It was a fantastic play in a big situation, and it was because of crowd noise. It was because of the atmosphere at Target Field led to base runners on second not being able to hear the coach telling them to get back, that Carlos Correa and Sonny Gray took advantage of.
I feel like that becomes part of postseason lore now. Now, one piece of postseason lore that went against the Twins, obviously 2009, the Mauer ball that was fair because he calls it foul. They referenced that on the broadcast tonight, Lavelle, when Chapman hit that ball off of Thielbar, bases loaded, 1 out in the 6th. That goes foul by maybe a foot or 2. That would have tied the game right there. next pitch, ground ball, double play. I mean, those are the moments in a postseason game that you kind of remember, that you replay, and those are the what ifs. All of those seem to go the Twins' way.
Well, this is the thing now. Over the last 18 playoff game losing streak, those plays went against the Twins, and now a couple are going for the Twins. So I don't know what they did. I don't know if they offered up a sacrifice to appease the baseball gods, but things are breaking their way now, and it's a combination of being prepared, being good at what you do, and putting yourself in a situation where a break can go your way. And the Twins have done that in these two games, and that's why they're moving on to the LCS against the Houston Astros.
ALDS, not get ahead of ourselves. They got to win 3 rounds just to get to the World Series. Now they got to win 3 rounds. Back in my day, I tell you, Lavelle, you only had to win once, and back in the Twins' day too. Last thing, Astros obviously going to be formidable. They were a good team all year. They end up winning the division. They've got tons of postseason experience. My guess at the postseason rotation maybe goes Ryan, Lopez, Gray, Ober, Lopez when I look at the rest, but give me your sense of what you think they'll do in this series and how competitive they can be.
We actually had a conversation about that in the press box, and a part of some of us wouldn't be surprised if Bailey Ober's added to the roster and starts their first game on Saturday, because he was pitching well down the stretch, and they can push Ryan back if need be, and have Pablo going second game 2 and Sonny Gray going in game 3. So you can't go wrong either way, I think. But if you want to go to hot hand, it's over. So he actually threw in the bullpen today. We saw him throw. So he's heating up for activity. So I expect him, to be on the roster for the next series and possibly start on Saturday.
Yeah, he was only not on this roster because he pitched Sunday, right? He wouldn't have been able to pitch in this series anyway. So that makes sense. Royce Lewis gets 2 more days now. Do we maybe see him at third base at some point? Because the defense isn't as good when he's at DH. And where does Buxton sit now?
I don't think you're going to see Royce Lewis play third in the next series. Based on how he ran today, you could tell he was trying to take it easy on the hamstring. Rocco's worst nightmare occurred in the game when he had a slow roller down the third baseline, and Royce was trying to go as fast as he could without blowing out the hamstring. It's not 100%, and I think you got to stay away from risking that, because at third base, it's a reactionary position where you may have to explode to come in on the ball or explode to go to one side or the other, and that could cause damage to that hamstring. As far as Buck, I don't think Buck's very happy about not being on the roster, but he understands that he'd be hurting the team. Sounds like he was around for a little bit during the post-game celebration, but was seen fully dressed leaving the ballpark while some other people are still celebrating. So he may be a little disappointed in the situation, or he wants to get all the sleep he can so he can come to the ballpark tomorrow and prove that he can be on the roster. So I'm just down there because I know he even said like 50, 60, 70% to describe his knee. And I'm like, I can't put Buxton on 70%. At 80%, 85%, right. We can have a conversation maybe, but not at 70. So I'm not expecting it.
Well, we'll see what comes of this series. Game 1 Saturday in Houston. Twins advance. Go read all of Lavelle's coverage and the rest of our coverage in Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. Lavelle, appreciate it. This series win might mean you'll be hearing a little bit more from me in a couple days. We'll see. We'll talk about that. Until then, though, appreciate it. Take some time, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take it easy. Go Twins.
Appreciated that from Lavelle. He's been just as busy as I am, if not more, writing throughout the game, writing post-game columns as well. He is very busy. Taking time, though, to be part of this podcast. Appreciate it. And I'm probably going to be tapping him on the shoulder a whole bunch more now. We didn't really know what to plan, but we got to keep this going. I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more of these special edition podcasts after these postseason games. There will not be a special edition podcast on Thursday because there's not a game 3. The Twins are already advanced. There will be a regular show tomorrow. Chip Scoggins and I talking a lot of Gophers, Vikings, a little bit of Timberwolves, and I have to imagine Friday's show will be very heavy on Twins, getting ready for that ALDS that starts on Saturday in Houston. Until tomorrow morning, I'm Michael Rand. Thanks for listening. Back at it again in a little while.